Hi, I'm Coulter. You may or may not know that the April 8th, 2024 eclipse is right around the corner. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to this path across the United States called the Path of Totality, and that's where you're going to be able to see a complete eclipse, meaning the moon moves totally in front of the sun and completely blocks it out. And right before, during, and after the eclipse, all kinds of really cool stuff happens. There's something called Baily's beads. There are these solar flares that come out from behind the moon that aren't visible any other time except in that couple of minutes of total eclipse. So in preparation, I finished a couple of books about eclipses, and one in particular was called Sun, Moon, Earth by Dr. Tyler Nordgren. I thought it was really, really interesting. So I had a conversation with him on Zoom, and this is that conversation. Thanks so much for doing this interview with me, Dr. Nordgren. The first question I have is I'm actually planning a trip to Ohio to go see the eclipse. And the main event is something I'm very excited about seeing. But another thing that I am really interested in is I want to see Baily's beads. Can you tell me a little bit about that phenomenon and how it occurs?
So Bailey's beads are where light shines down through little valleys on the edge of the moon. It's one of the last things to happen before you reach totality. So the sun is almost completely behind the moon. And because the moon does have actual mountains and valleys on it, those last little bits of the sun shine in uh, through lunar valleys, lunar alpine valleys, and reach us. And the sun breaks apart into these little tiny beads of light. And Francis Baily was the first British astronomer to see this through a telescope. And he thought it was like little beads on a string, all breaking up and shimmering until they disappeared one by one. And then eventually we have totality.
The eclipse makes it possible to see the corona right by the sun with the naked eye. Can you talk a little bit about that phenomenon and just tell me what the corona is? What are we looking at when we see that?
So when you look up at totality, that moment that the sun goes black, it's surrounded by these ghostly tendrils that stretch out into space all around it. And what that is, it's the sun's outer atmosphere. It's relatively dim. So during any normal day, it's utterly drowned out by the light of the sun's disk. But when you darken that disk, when it goes black and the sky goes dark, you can see now suddenly these tendrils. And the ironic thing is, for being relatively dim compared to the disk of the sun, it's actually phenomenally hotter than the sun. That disk, what we call the photosphere, is only about, say, 6,000 degrees, but the corona is over 1 million degrees. And in fact, it's the hottest thing that any human being will ever see with their own eyes. And it's utterly invisible for all time, except during those few precious moments of totality.
When people experience totality, in some cases, it just gets them right to the core and they change their whole life and they go eclipse chasing all over the world. It becomes one of the most important things for them to do. Can you talk a little bit about what that feels like, or just kind of what that movement inside of somebody is once they see this that makes them want to dedicate their life to chasing these around the world?
If a total solar eclipse were just a scientific phenomenon, you would not have thousands of people chasing these all over the world. Uh, a total eclipse, it's not just the alignment of the sun and the moon and the earth, although that's the title of my book. It is the alignment of the sun and the moon with you, the viewer. And for those few precious moments that you are standing there, you literally see that three-dimensional depth of the universe as the heavens are aligning with you. It is the most unnatural, natural phenomenon I've ever witnessed in the sky. It is moving, and is something that is absolutely deeply profound. And I have yet to meet somebody who has seen totality and said, okay, that's it for me.
Meh.
Yeah.
I love that point because it isn't just the alignment of the sun and the moon of the earth, it's the alignment of the sun, the moon, and earth and you. And that is some pretty good company you're in, though. Those celestial bodies and then yourself, and you're part of that alignment. That's a really fun way to think about it.
At that moment of totality, we normally think of the sky as kind of things that are infinitely far away, or they're plastered at some celestial sphere. But there's this sense of depth that you get to the universe when you suddenly realize that the moon has slid in between you and the sun and the stars behind. I just have to say, for myself, it feels like the universe suddenly comes into perspective. And that's a truly humbling experience when you realize that.
I hope that got you excited for the April 8th, 2024 eclipse. We are going down to Ohio to see it, to a place, a small little town that's in the path of totality. If you're going to travel to see the eclipse, please tell me in the comments where you're going to go.
Please like this video and subscribe to our channel, The Wild Where You Are, so you don't miss any of our new videos.